the stars between us. The night air in Florence was thick with the scent of blooming jasmine and the faint sound of a violinist playing in the Piazza della Signoria. Isabella leaned against the cool stone railing of the bridge, staring at the reflection of the city lights in the Arno River. She had come here to escape, to breathe after a long week of lectures, assignments, and the heavy silence of her empty apartment. She never expected to meet Daniel that night. He appeared with a sketchbook tucked under his arm, his sleeves rolled up, and charcoal smudges across his hands. He was an artist from London, spending the summer in Florence to find inspiration for his portfolio. When he stopped beside her on the bridge, she thought he would simply pass by. Instead, he glanced at the water, then at her, and said quietly, "Do you ever feel like the city is watching you back?" The question startled her, but it also made her laugh. They started talking. About art, about books, about the way Florence seemed to hold 1,000 years of secrets in its streets. His voice was warm, his smile unguarded. And for the first time in months, Isabella felt something stirring inside her, something like the first rays of dawn after a long night. Their meetings became a ritual. Morning coffee at a quiet cafe, afternoons wandering through narrow alleys, evenings watching the stars from the hills above the city. Daniel would sketch her sometimes, not as a portrait but as a presence, a hand reaching for sunlight, a silhouette walking through rain. "You make me want to draw life," he told her one evening as the bells of the Duomo rang in the distance. But summer has a cruel way of reminding lovers of time. August approached, and with it, the end of Daniel's stay. Isabella tried to ignore it, tried to live in each moment as if it could last forever. Yet the thought of losing him lingered like a shadow behind every laugh, every kiss. On their last night, they stood again on the bridge where they first met. The city glowed around them, but all Isabella could see was him. "I don't want this to end," she whispered. Daniel reached for her hand, his fingers trembling slightly. "Then let's not let it end. The distance will be hard, yes. But love is stubborn. It survives when we fight for it." She looked into his eyes and saw her own fears reflected there, but also hope, fierce and unyielding. That night, as the stars shimmered above the Arno, Isabella realized something: love wasn't about the certainty of forever. It was about the courage to choose someone, again and again, even when the world tried to pull you apart. And so, under the ancient sky of Florence, they chose each other. The first time Emma laid eyes on Daniel, it was beneath the old willow tree by Moonlight Bay. She had gone there with her sketchbook, as she often did when she needed to escape the noise of the world. The bay was quiet, the water shimmering under the soft glow of the setting sun. Daniel, with his messy hair and tired eyes, had been sitting on the wooden bridge, tossing pebbles into the water as though each stone carried a secret he needed to let go. Their first conversation was awkward yet oddly comforting. Emma, shy by nature, rarely spoke first to strangers. But something about the way Daniel looked, like he was carrying an invisible weight, made her say, "It feels lighter here, doesn't it?" He turned, startled at first, then gave her a smile that was both fragile and warm. "Yeah," he said. "Like the world can't touch you here." That was the beginning. Over the weeks, Emma found herself visiting the bay more often, and so did Daniel. She brought her sketches of the sea, of trees, of faces she imagined in the clouds. He brought stories, small, tender ones about his childhood, his love for music, and the novel he had always dreamed of writing but never finished. Little by little, they became each other's confidants. Emma told him how she often felt invisible, like her art would never matter to anyone. Daniel admitted he felt stuck, haunted by expectations and the fear of failing. Somehow, when they were together, those fears seemed softer. One evening in autumn, with the leaves painting the ground in shades of fire, Daniel asked if he could see her sketchbook. Emma hesitated. No one had ever seen her drawings before. But she handed it to him, her fingers trembling. He turned the pages slowly, reverently, as though each drawing was a window into her soul. When he looked up, his eyes were shining. "Emma," he whispered, "the world needs to see this. You see beauty in places people forget to look." She couldn't speak. All she managed was a quiet, "Do you really think so?" "I know so," he replied. As the seasons changed, so did their bond. Winter came, and the bay froze in silence, but still, they met at the bridge, wrapped in scarves and laughter. Spring followed, filling the air with blossoms, and Emma realized that her heart had slowly, inevitably, given itself to Daniel. But love is never simple. Daniel received an offer, one that would take him far from Moonlight Bay. A publishing house wanted to give him a chance to finally finish his novel. It was everything he had dreamed of, yet it meant leaving behind the place where he found Emma, where he found himself. On their last night at the bay before his departure, the stars were unusually bright. Emma sat beside him on the bridge, trying to memorize the sound of his laugh, the way his hand fit around hers. "Emma," Daniel said softly, "I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose you." Her heart ached, torn between holding on and letting him chase the life he deserved. She touched his cheek and whispered, "You won't lose me. Write your story, Daniel. And when it's done, come back to me." He promised he would. Months passed. Letters traveled between them, filled with words of longing and hope. Emma kept drawing, her sketches now brimming with light she had never known before. Daniel wrote with passion, pouring his heart into every page, his words carrying pieces of Emma within them. 2 years later, Emma stood once again by the willow tree, her sketchbook in hand. The wind carried the sound of footsteps across the bridge. She looked up, and there he was, Daniel, holding a book with her name on the dedication page. He walked straight to her, his eyes never leaving hers. "I came back," he said, breathless with both fear and joy. And before she could answer, he kissed her beneath the willow tree, sealing the promise they had kept alive across distance and time. From then on, Moonlight Bay was no longer just a place of escape. It was where their love began, where their dreams intertwined, and where they built a life together, two souls who had once felt lost, now found forever in each other. Whispers beneath the lantern sky. The summer festival had always been the highlight of the year in Haney Village, a small town tucked away between the mountains and the river. Lanterns swayed gently above the cobblestone streets, their soft glow painting everything in shades of gold and crimson. The air was filled with laughter, the aroma of roasted chestnuts, and the delicate notes of music from a stringed shamisen. Maya had lived in the village her entire life. She loved the familiar sound of cicadas in the evening, the way the river glistened under the moonlight, and the comfort of knowing everyone by name. Yet, as much as she cherished her home, she carried a quiet restlessness inside her, a longing for something more, something beyond the mountains. That evening, as she walked through the lantern-lit streets, she spotted a stranger near the old bridge. He stood slightly apart from the crowd, gazing at the river as if it carried secrets only he could hear. His name, she would later learn, was Daniel, a traveler from another country who had come to Haney to sketch landscapes for his art. Their eyes met for the first time under the cascade of lantern light. Something in his quiet presence drew her in, and before she knew it, she found herself walking toward him. "You're not from here," she said softly, her voice mingling with the sound of flowing water. Daniel turned, smiling faintly. "Is it that obvious?" "Very," she replied, laughing lightly. That simple exchange opened a door neither of them expected. Over the following weeks, Daniel and Maya spent countless hours together. He sketched the mountains while she told him the legends tied to them. He painted the river, and she recited the old songs her grandmother used to sing. For the first time, Maya felt her world expanding, not by leaving her village, but by sharing it with someone who saw it with new eyes. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills and painted the sky in hues of amber, Daniel looked at her and whispered, "I didn't just come here to paint. I came here to find you." Maya's heart skipped a beat. She wanted to believe him, yet fear tugged at her, fear that he would leave, as travelers always did. When the festival returned the next year, lanterns once again lit up the village. Maya stood by the bridge, clutching the memory of Daniel in her heart. He had promised he would return, but promises often faded with time and distance. Just as the first lanterns floated into the sky, she felt a presence beside her. Turning, she found Daniel standing there, a little breathless, carrying a sketchbook worn from the road. "I told you," he said with a smile, his eyes full of quiet certainty. "I'd find my way back." In that moment, beneath the lantern-filled sky, Maya realized that love was not about leaving or staying, it was about finding someone who made every place feel like home. And as their fingers intertwined, the night seemed to whisper around them, carrying their promise into the starlit heavens.